You should know the the 7 minimum documentation categories that determine the strength of the case.
Mm-hmm.
So that's mechanism of injury, subjective, hybrid, objective, and MMI. Then you got MMI, impairment, and the prognosis and need for future care. That's the 7 minimum.
Mm-hmm.
It can be more than 7. That's the 7 minimum to have a good case. And then that in that documentation, subjective, hybrid, can be primary evidence or secondary. So you got to know what's the difference between primary and secondary. Or it could have multiple categories of diagnostics.
Could you explain that? Because that was like that's one of my questions that I've had that I wanted to ask you for today, because I I I have it down from watching the video that the primary evidence is just directly related to the injury, and you need at least one primary evidence to support and have a strong case, and then go into the secondary, it's indirectly related to the injury. Um, but I don't understand what that means.
Well, it can change. So let's say we do a ligament stress test. Well, that's primary for what? Ligaments.
Ligament.
Okay. Now let's use an MRI.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to use an MRI for ligament evaluation?
No.
Is it a primary test for ligament?
No.
Is it a secondary test?
Yeah.
No, it's not. What's the only way to test the integrity of a ligament?
Oh, test the integrity of the ligament is
Stress it.
stress it. Yeah.
Does an MRI stress a ligament?
No.
Is it a tertiary test?
No.
It's not relevant at all.
Yeah.
Not relevant at all. So whether something's primary or secondary
Mm-hmm.
is relevant to what you're talking about. So you can have one test that's not relevant at all, like what I just explained.
Yep.
So the MRI is totally irrelevant relative to evaluating the integrity of a ligament.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a primary, it's not a secondary, it's not even relevant. But now let's look at a disc. Now it's primary.
Right.
So it depends on the injury you're looking at, whether something's primary or secondary.
Okay.
In other words, you can't say, here's the disc, here's the primary, here's secondary. No, you got to look at it and goes, is it directly relevant to that diagnosis? Or is it indirectly, or is it not even relevant at all?
Okay.
Like I'm gonna check your blood for calcium. How relevant is that for a disc injury?
Right. Not relative.
It's not even relevant.
Yeah.
See? And a lot of times, if it's primary, that alone gives you the diagnosis. That's the diagnosis.
Okay. So it would be the opposite, or something. Another example would be looking at an X-ray to find a disc herniation. It's irrelevant.
By itself, yes, it'd be irrelevant. Yes. It could be secondary with associated findings, right?
Right.
A standalone, you're right. You just looked at an X-ray, you couldn't tell a disc. Even if it was
Yeah.
degenerated, doesn't mean it's bulged or herniated or sequestered, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, yeah, best case scenario, it could be secondary with associated findings. But if you're just looking at that X-ray for a disc, no, it's not even relevant.
So if you were looking at if you looked at an MRI and you found the disc herniation, you saw a disc herniation, and then you took a motion X-ray and you measured angulation, deviations, and translations. So now you have a ligament problem at that same level. Would that be related as primary evidence for
Well,
both of those?
you just mix two tests. So
Yeah, I did.
look at each test individually relative to the problem.
Okay. Okay. That makes more sense.
So in your case, the MRI was worthless for the ligament, but it was
Right.
primary for the disc.
Yep.
The motion study was worthless for the disc, and it was primary for the ligament.
Okay.
You're just looking at one-to-one relationships. That's all.
Okay.
What's the injury? What's the diagnosis? Is that diagnostic? Is it directly relevant to give that diagnosis?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's primary. If it's indirectly, then it'd be secondary, or it's not relevant at all.
Okay. And then what would what was multiple categories of evidence?
Like, let's say you have a positive dynarom, positive MRI, positive ligament lesion, motion X-rays.
Okay.
That's multiple. They're all different categories.
Got it.
Like
Okay.
one could be muscle strength weakness. That's a category. MRI, that's a category.
Okay.
X-ray, they're all different categories.
Okay.
The more multiple categories you have, the more you see how it creates more strength and trust relative to the problem when there's multiple categories pointing to the same problem.
Putting to the same problem. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was just curious because in my mind, if I was explaining this to an attorney and they asked me, well, what the hell was that? I would have fumbled it and would have known. So
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So that's what determines, that's why I said that's what determines this. Remember, what do I call it? Horizontal and vertical documentation.
mhm.
What's the first thing you need to have a strength of a case? Well, you need 7 minimum categories, and you better have one piece of evidence in each of the 7.
Yep.
That's the bare minimum.
Minimum.
Okay, now let's start adding to it. Okay, let's say you have 2 primary subjective evidence. You got back pain and neck pain. Okay,
Mhm.
there's 2. Okay, good. Let's say you add in a third one. Let's say you have dizziness. You could call it primary, you know, I'd call it secondary.
Mhm.
Blurred vision, dizziness, blurred vision. I mean, you and I know that they go directly along with a lot of neck injuries. A lot of people don't know that though.
Right. Yep.
So anyway, so that would be subjective. And then you got all the hybrid tests. Active range of motion, passive range of motion, overpressure, muscle strength, orthopedic tests, tenderness, muscle spasms, tension. If it's manually done, it's hybrid. If it's done by Dynarom, it's objective.
Mhm.
So that's a whole list of hybrid tests.
Yep.
And then you got all the objective tests. So you could have multiple primary subjective findings. You could have multiple primary hybrid findings. You could have
Mhm.
multiple primary objective findings. Well, how strong is this case getting?
Pretty strong.
Pretty strong. And
Yeah.
then go, let's say we have some secondary findings, you know? So an example I give, like for the neck, foraminal compression would be very specific for disc and nerve or facet, right?
Mhm.
Shoulder decompression, that's not very specific, is it?
Right. No.
It might be positive, so I'd call it secondary, not primary. Because just because you have shoulder decompression, does that mean you have a disc nerve?
Right. No.
Say it's more of a general test.
Yeah.
So I'd call it secondary.
Okay.
And then if I was trying to find something in the neck and I did a blood test for calcium, then it would be an irrelevant test.
Mhm.
So then you go into how many diagnostic categories? Well, the more diagnostic, do you have X in the objective category?
Mhm.
Do you have X-ray? Do you have MRI? Do you have Dynarom? Do you have objective muscle testing? I mean, how many do you have?
Yep. Okay.
So that's why I call it vertical and horizontal documentation.
Yeah.
1 through 7 is horizontal. Vertical is primary, secondary, and multiple categories.
Mhm.
That's the core. That's the absolute core of everything.
Yep. Okay.
Then everything just grows from there. Do you have injury magnifiers? Oh, okay, let's add it. Do you have complicating factors? Oh, okay, let's add it.
Mm-hmm.
You have an ambulance to take into the emergency room in an ambulance? Okay, let's add it. Did they have surgery? Oh, okay, let's add it. Did they take a month
Right.
off from work? Oh, okay, let's add it. See,
Yeah.
everything starts to get added, but that's the bottom line. You better have those 7 minimum
Those seven.
categories. That's like the line. And I always say can you see how that's a way of creating a clear distinction?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I always say that's a clear distinction that determines if you at least have the minimum of a strong case
Mm-hmm.
or willing to go to court.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if I had less than 7, I explained to the attorney why he doesn't have a strong case, and I'd suggest not to go into court.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now I see it. Now that's why the
And
title is
you're, and
seven.
you're a healthcare provider. So how much of this you think they know?
None.
They didn't even go to chiropractic school or
Right.
med school.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one that's going to be explaining it to them and telling them and making sense of this.
Yeah.
They don't know any better. And that's why you get all the referrals and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.